Just a few years ago, Buddy Hield was playing like an absolute beast. He was on his way to becoming a bona fide star. Well, in fact, he certainly looked like he already was. In the 2018-19 season, he was averaging over 20 points a game, hitting 43% of his threes while attempting almost 8 per game. Those are nearly Steph Curry levels of volume and percentage, and because of that, he garnered a lot of praise. Buddy led the Kings in scoring in a very surprising season. It was 2 seasons after Cousins got traded, so the Kings were back to rebuilding. Expectations were low, and yet the team won more games than they ever did with Cousins on the roster. 39 wins. That's not amazing, but for the Kings, it was, considering how everyone thought they'd be atrocious. Buddy was at the forefront of that charge, and it looked like he was quickly becoming the team's franchise player. We saw him lead the Kings better than Cousins ever had. That season, he started in all 82 games, and up until now, he hasn't matched that level of production. In fact, he's dropped off quite significantly. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today, let's talk about Buddy Hield. A guy who put himself in the conversation as a top-tier shooting guard in the league. But now? I don't know, it's looking kinda rough. First, we gotta understand how significant Buddy's breakout season was. In the year prior, the 2017-18 season, Buddy was nothing more than a mere role player, averaging about 13 points a game as a sophomore. An energetic shooting guard who came off the bench to get buckets, that's all he was. While he was the 6th overall pick of the 2016 draft, the expectations were kinda murky. He was an older rookie, which was made even more apparent when reports came out that he was actually 1 year older than his listed age. So coming into the NBA at 24 years old, you expect him to immediately produce, and that's what he did. But his time in New Orleans would be short-lived. Across the country, the Kings were having a bad time, no surprise there. But this was especially bad. In the midst of chaos, with rumors of DeMarcus Cousins wanting out and the organization getting impatient with a lack of progress, they shipped him out, and got Buddy in return, who was the focal point of the Kings' package in this trade. Initially, getting dealt to Sacramento was the best thing to ever happen to Buddy. That's a sentence I thought I'd never say. The Kings had a huge hole at shooting guard and gave him the opportunity to prove himself. He took full advantage of this chance. By his 3rd season, he was putting up nearly all-star caliber numbers, and his team was doing relatively well as he generated a lot of noise. He even finished 4th in the most improved player voting, right behind his teammate De'Aaron Fox, who finished 3rd. After the season, he was rewarded with a 4-year, $94 million extension. For the first time in a while, the Kings were looking good, and you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. They just won 39 games, the best season they've had since 2006. They had a budding star in Buddy Hield, a terrific youngster in De'Aaron Fox. Bogdan Bogdanovic was a pleasant surprise, and Willie Cauley-Stein was getting better. For a team that was supposedly dead in the water after the Cousins trade, the future was looking bright. Unfortunately, this was more like a one-season miracle. This would not last. The following season was an absolute disaster. The Kings went backwards as tensions started to rise. Players started to get upset over a changing role, especially Buddy, who felt like he wasn't getting the same number of touches as before, and even got relegated to the bench as the season progressed. It reached a climax in a game late December, after a double overtime loss to the Wolves, where Buddy got benched for the majority of the 4th quarter and overtimes. When he did check in near the end, he did not go along with the game plan, and threw up a random shot at the buzzer to lose the game. Afterwards, he reportedly criticized his coaches and teammates for the lack of trust, and felt like the team no longer believed in him. He stated, It seems like we're all over the place. The coaches and everybody. Trust issues going on. I guess guys stop believing in players. It is what it is, man. They have who they have playing out there, and I just have to be supportive. It's clear he was frustrated not getting to play. He had some run-ins with their new coach, Luke Walton, as well. They didn't really see eye to eye, and Buddy was more willing to criticize him compared to Dave Yeager. Speaking of Yeager, the Kings firing him after that 39-win season was out of nowhere, and a very questionable choice. I don't know what they were expecting him to do, but 39 wins with that roster, that's well above expectations. I thought he was a good fit there, and he seemed to get along with the players. Despite getting benched and seeing his role change, Buddy still had a great year, not putting up the same numbers as before, not shooting the ball as well, but still very productive. We did not expect these tensions with the front office and Walton to continue, but unfortunately, it did. It continued throughout the offseason, and nobody knew if Buddy would even report to training camp. While De'Aaron Fox made a massive jump playing under Walton, Buddy's career was going in the opposite direction. There were rumors all offseason that Buddy was considering a trade request, but the Kings didn't want to trade him yet, and still tried to reconcile. It's not looking good though. Prior to the start of the 2021 season, Jason Jones of The Athletic reported that Hield has soured on Luke Walton, and even stopped answering his phone calls. Others were saying the opposite. The Kings' new GM, Monte McNair, said, "I've talked with Buddy as well as his agent, and I think we're all on the same page, and I think we're really excited to see Buddy kind of let free in this system. I think he's going to be fantastic." Well, that hasn't seemed like the case. While some may blame Walton for misusing Hield, part of it is his own fault too. As of this video, he's now back in the starting lineup. He's now averaging the most minutes he's ever had. But he's also having the worst shooting season of his entire career. 35% from the field, 34% from 3, both are career lows. This was the year for him to shine, as he has the opportunity, but he's wasting it away. After all that tension, this might be his last chance in Sacramento, and he's certainly not proving himself. The problems with Buddy are issues that he struggled with throughout his career. The inconsistency, the bad habits of forcing up tough shots when he doesn't need to. Sometimes he feels pressured to take a shot because if he passes it, he might not get the ball back. Other times, he looks like he can't miss, but that's been very rare this season. You could blame it on bad shooting. A lot of times, shooters go on cold streaks. But not like this. There's fundamental problems with how he operates on offense. Too many of his shots are contested, and he doesn't have as many catch-and-shoot chances as before. Compared to his brilliant 2018-19 campaign, this year he's taking more threes off the dribble, which is less efficient. And he's taking fewer shots at the rim at a lower efficiency too. Also, his role is kinda awkward. Most of the time, he just stands at the three-point line, and we don't see the same cuts and drives to the rim as we used to. He's more passive and moves way less off the ball than he used to. That might be a side effect of no longer being the focal point of the offense, as that shifted to Fox and the bigs. Buddy looks more like a 3-and-D player, except without the D. His individual defensive rating has been god-awful, the worst of the King starters, and near the bottom out of all shooting guards in the league. The worse he performs, the more likely he'll be traded. His contract looks terrible right now, and his stock is at an all-time low, so I'm not sure the Kings can get much back. When asked about his current situation in Sacramento, Buddy has tried to avoid answering the question directly. There's a lot of deflecting. He mentioned that if the team wants to do whatever they do, he'll go along with it, but it's clear there's a divide between him and the front office. At one point, this was a guy who was one of the best shooting guards in the league, leading a young team to the best record they've had in over a decade, with aspirations of being the face of the franchise. Perhaps after getting paid, he slacked off. His work ethic and ability to fit into any system were praised by NBA scouts early on, but those things seem to have been lost over the years. Maybe a change of scenery would be best. He needs something to revitalize his career. Anyway, that's all folks. Let me know your thoughts on Buddy Hield. Where do you see his career going? Will he bounce back and show that star-studded potential he once had? Is a trade necessary to reignite his once prominent career? I think it's far too early to tell, but he's not exactly a young player, so his time is limited. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.